Meanwhile, coming up very soon, in about a month or so, another Kickball Classic. And here to talk to us about that is Jonathan Beal of the CIR, Community Inclusive Recreation, and Vince Pavone of Lakeview Ford. Good morning, gents.
Good morning, Richard.
Thank you for coming so early today and talking to us a little bit about this. Now, let's start with talking about what Kickball Classic really is, Vince.
The Kickball Classic is an opportunity for the community to come together. This will be our 6th Kickball Classic in July 24th. And it's an opportunity for teams across the community, businesses, nonprofits, youth organizations, to spend a day with each other competing in a classic game of kickball that we all played when we were in elementary school. And while we do that, we have participants from CIR that are also on teams with the sponsor teams in the community. And some of these participants have been on the same team for 6 years.
Wow!
And true bonds have been made, and it's just a fantastic day. And by the way, we do raise a little money for CIR, which is always helpful for them, and the constant grind of fundraising for nonprofits and how difficult it is these days. But this is an opportunity again for all of us to come together as one and be inclusive and celebrate one of the great organizations in the community.
And let's talk about that, John. What is CIR?
CIR, Community Inclusive Recreation, is a program that allows local residents with disabilities and non-disabilities to be able to participate in recreational activities, art programming, all provided throughout Calhoun County. A lot of times there's barriers for some of those folks, such as transportation, so we provide transportation and activities within our building, and then most importantly out in the community. So we tie into a lot of local areas. Right now we've got our kickball league going on over at one of the local elementary schools, and we do dance classes, we do dances, we do day camps that are coming up this weekend. Just a lot of community inclusive connections for our participants to be able to do things, get out of some of the places. Some live with families, some live within AFC homes, and that allows them to be able to be part of the community. And our goal hopefully is to connect them, to some inclusive part of the community. Maybe they can do something actually outside of our programming, through our programming, to be able to be more inclusive within our community.
I imagine this event then has a lot of them already looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, it's something they talk about year round. Actually, it's really neat, and some of them are bragging. I've been on different teams, and they know people, by name, and they wear their shirts. For instance, we've got our kickball league going on right now, and all of them are wearing their shirts, and they come in kind of pumping their chest up, saying, this is my team, and we're going to beat you this year, and so yeah, it's a great camaraderie.
Tough talk.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's it's a great fun. It'll be my first one as executive director, so I'm looking forward to it, and should be a great time.
We'll talk more about it too when we come back in just a minute. Kickball Classic in July. We're talking about it with John Beal and Vince Pavone. We're talking about Kickball Classic. Now, that's coming up in July, in about a month, July 24th at Bailey Park, and we'll tell you how you can get a team together for that in just a few minutes. How did Lakeview get involved in this, Vince?
That's a great question. A number of years ago, Drew Stanton, who was formerly with the Detroit Lions and played at Michigan State, was a great community guy. We developed a relationship where he was doing some advertising and some promotional stuff for us, and it was purely based on doing community work. Okay, we helped Drew with his golf outing in Lansing, his High Five Foundation. And then Drew was coming into the Battle Creek community, and he actually had a tour over at CIR and had done a golf tournament in Marshall previously. So I went up and had lunch with Drew and his dad in Grand Rapids, and they said, hey, we don't want to do another golf outing. We want to do something different. We want to do kickball. And I, being kind of a newer member of the Battle Creek community, nodded my head and said, okay, that sounds great. I got in my car. I'm driving back to Battle Creek. I said, how am I going to do this? Okay. And it was a great idea because we just went out in the community and started talking to people about it and kind of creating a vision of what the kickball tournament would be like. And actually, a previous board chair for CIR, Mike Beck, was a dear friend of mine and still a great friend of the organization. We had made a connection, and I didn't really know much about CIR, and we kind of dialed in on the inclusive piece of kickball, the fundraising piece of kickball, and then of course we had Drew's support and his family's support, and they still support us today, and it kind of evolved from there. And the first year I think we had 12 teams, and last year we were up to 24 teams. And there still is one available slot, so we would, if anybody wants to put a team in or have players who want to be involved in a team, just contact either CIR or Lakeview Ford Lincoln and ask for Patty.
So if you want to put together a team, generally the teams are folks who are together in the workplace, and they put together a workplace team, but it doesn't have to be. Right?
We've changed the model a little bit.
Okay.
We have sponsors now who the Battle Creek Community Foundation, Bronson Hospital, Motor Shop Electric. I'm going to get in trouble because I'm not going to name all 24 teams, but they've sponsored teams so that Boys and Girls Club can play, Big Brothers and Big Sisters can play. Nice. The police department now has a sponsor. BC MAMS has a sponsor. So all workplace doesn't necessarily have the age or the athleticism to compete with some of the other teams.
No idea what you mean.
So we've been able to go out and actually find some sponsors to get some other young people involved, so that we can continue to kind of spread that service vein, if you will, and try and inspire people to lead and also to see what great works they're doing over at CIR and trying to inspire that next generation. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to go out there, Richard, but we're in for a few more years.
All right. Vince alluded to it, John, and you know it, and we certainly hear about it here in our line of work, but the challenges with keeping nonprofits going and keeping the funding sources going are out there.
Absolutely.
How are you feeling about that these days?
Yeah, that's a challenge for any nonprofit going forward. That's a constant thought process, I think, in any executive director or staff.
Sure.
And unfortunately, times have been more tough for that, and we've seen that impacted in our programming too. We've had, some of our people are self-pay and can do that. Some get scholarship, and some get some support from our local community mental health, and all those funding areas, along with obviously nonprofit support, has diminished over time. So this is a great opportunity to be able to to help back. And we do have, I think Vincent mentioned, some families that actually decide, hey, we'll put a family team together. So it'd be great for our family to come together, support a local nonprofit that just does a wonderful cause. A lot of these people just wonderful support for CIR over the years, and our participants are people that are a lot of them have developmental disabilities, so it's a hard go for them to be able to afford sometimes getting out to programming and need assistance, like driving or transportation and things like that, to be part of their active community. And I think that's one of the things I really want to try to work towards, is that inclusive piece. We watch those great movies like Radio, Disney's Radio, or some things like that, and everybody gets that nice connected feeling, and I'd really like to be able to move that forward. I think the Kickball Classic is a great way to do that, because we've had participants that have transformed from being on the kickball team, and then they get invited to, say, that company's local employee bowl-a-thon for that year.
Wow.
So it's just a great way to connect and have some connection that way, or at the company picnic or this or that. And it's just from what I've heard, I'm really excited to see my first one in action here, and it's been a great thing.
the relationships begin to be formed.
Yes.
That, boy, you can't put a value on that.
Yeah, and the thing about CAR, I mean, we've been passed this baton. This has been going on in Battle Creek for over 20 years, and there's been leadership from the Kellogg Foundation, the Battle Creek Community Foundation, leaders in the community, Russ Mobby, Jim Hazel, Linda Link, Bill Richardson. I mean, these names are storied in the history of Battle Creek that have continued to pass on this inspirational organization that truly could be a national model. But it's a one way for Battle Creek to show that we take care of our own. And as much as I love BC Vision, I'm a big proponent. We've been doing that in Battle Creek for 100 years. So we're very, very appreciative and respectful to be able to carry on that tradition.
Kickball Classic is July 24th at Bailey Park, and we'll talk more. 824 WBCK, we're here with John Beal. He's with Community Inclusive Recreation, and Vince Pavone with Lakeview Ford, working together for the Kickball Classic on July 24th at Bailey Park in Battle Creek. And Vince was making the point a moment ago that this is an example of what BC Vision is trying to expand upon, this collaboration, this kind of inclusiveness and so on. And John, you made a point during the break there that that's certainly true because you've heard it in other places.
Yeah, actually, this is a pretty unique program to, I think, not only the local area, but all of Michigan. Coming from working out of county in a few years with participants like ours, I've been mentioned a couple times asking if they could pick my brain on how they could maybe have a program like this in a few other counties, because they just don't have anything like this. A lot of our participants, if they're in like an AFC home, for instance, they don't have those outreach opportunities. So they do a lot of, if it's with their local staff, they may do a few things, but they just don't have a lot of interaction in other counties to be able to connect with, inclusive opportunities in the community, really. And so this is a great example where Battle Creek's ahead of the curve in some of these areas.
Well, that's encouraging to hear. Vince made the point, this is an example that could be duplicated nationally. Already there's some regional interest there in figuring out how this works. You talked about transportation a couple of times. Is that the main barrier to access to programs like this? Yeah,
actually, that's our main barrier. We have 4 buses, 5 on occasion. We're working on getting a 5th, and that limits some of the participation, obviously, for our participants. A lot of them, obviously, with their disabilities, aren't able to, get to different sites and such. So sometimes our waiting lists can be pretty deep, simply because of the transportation, issues and such to get them to certain programming. So that's definitely probably one of the biggest barriers, yes.
So you come to us with a perspective from elsewhere, and you're able to be in a position to evaluate everything at CIR and look at it. Do you have a notion for the future and maybe how you might expand some of these opportunities?
Well, obviously, different types of programming. I'd definitely like to look at a couple different areas like that. But the biggest thing, I think, is actually finding ways where we can connect our participants to be more inclusive within the community. If that be, that special manager at a football team for one of the local high schools. If that's, a connection area where we can get somebody involved in, say, their own personal bowling league, connected with some different businesses or things like that. It makes them feel as part of the community and allows them to have a quality of life. And we all know quality of life means we're mentally and physically more healthy and able to, be able to participate and be part of our active community. And I think that's a big key.
Richard, there will not be a dodgeball tournament.
You've already decided? Fair enough. So if someone wants to help CIR in this way or another way, how do we do that?
I think the biggest thing is call us up, ask us how you could support us. Obviously, financial is our biggest push all year long, as any nonprofit is. But you could provide scholarships for people that don't have access to any way to participate. And we have multiple people call all the time, asking, hey, I don't, have the ability to be able to do that. I'm on a very limited budget, obviously, but want to connect in the community, or I have staff that call, say, from an AFC home trying to get some people in. And, so we're always looking for scholarship money. That's the big thing. That gets some of our participants involved, and then we can expand that list or even open up a new program. That would be the ultimate. But sometimes we're also looking for volunteers. Our art classes, sometimes local church, for instance, just recently helped do a drive for one of our art classes for art supplies. So just give us a call. There's a lot of different ways that we can collaborate and reach out, and you can be a support.
Just type Community Inclusive Recreation, Battle Creek, in the search box in your favorite search engine, and up comes the number and the website and all of that information. So we'll look forward to that. We could do a dodgeball, but we'd probably have to call it forward ball.
Well, we always look at new and creative ways to bring attention to the organization, to help them raise money, and bring our community together. I'm just so thankful that I have a team at Lakeview Ford that really embraces these types of values that we instill in our organization, and are so willing to chip in and be a part of this community. And I just want to thank them today, and all the other team members and teams that are going to participate on July 24th. It's great. It makes me very proud to live here and to work here.
John Beal, Community Inclusive Recreation, Vince Pavone, Lakeview Ford, Kickball Classic, July 24th at Bailey Park in Battle Creek. One team opportunity left, so make the call and ask for Patty at Lakeview Ford, and she'll help you. 441-2500 is that number. Thank you, gents.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, we'll talk again soon.